Oh no, Leo, we're in hell. How did we get here? His face. Okay, all right, I'm putting. He looked shocked just like me. Hey, what's up? My name is Chris, formerly known as ChristopherCoxFilm, the Nerf Overlord. That's a good one. And today, I'm talking about sins. That's right. I've ended up in hell because I have committed them. In fact, I've committed all 7 of the
deadly indie filmmaking sins.
Anytime you've decided to make an art project, you've committed at least one of these sins before. And today, I wanted to go over them because I think it's very important for us as artists and creatives to keep ourselves balanced, in check. We get really passionate about what we're creating, and sometimes we can lose track of ourselves, and we don't realize we may be toxic to ourselves and others. These are examples. These are all things that I have said before while I've been making something, and now, whenever I say them again in the future, because I will know that I'm committing
a deadly sin.
And you will as well. So, without further ado, let's begin with the first one, the over-encompassing sin.
It's my film.
Yep, we've all done that, or we've definitely thought it, because, of course, we will know what's best for our film, right? Well, not always. Film is a collaborative medium. I've said this a million times. If you've ever been in film school, they will tell you this a million times, and it's very important to understand. Collaboration means you don't know everything. Even though it is your idea and it's your baby that you're raising, at the end of the day, you need co-parenting. You can't raise this on your own. The whole goal with learning and growing as an independent filmmaker is understanding that you don't know everything, and there are going to be people out there who know things better than you. You know, I'm a horror guy, so of course I'm always going to believe that the horror film that I am making, I know what's best for it. In my most recent project, Noise Next Door, I hired a director of photography who, dare I say, might know horror better than me, or at the very least, he certainly knows aspects of horror better than me that I would like to explore more of. He recommended a film to me called Krisha, and it's already one of my favorites, and it's definitely more in line with the kind of horror that I've been missing. I wouldn't have learned that and accepted that I don't know everything if I hadn't taken that chance to accept maybe I don't know everything. And it's very important for all of us to keep ourselves in check. Listen to other people, because other people care, and they might have ideas, you know, tunnel vision, you might have it right now as the creator, but they don't. So they might be able to offer you something new and fresh.
Seriously, just no one else care?
I've had problems in the past where I really felt like I was the only one that cared while making a film. And while, of course, sometimes it may feel that way, at the end of the day, actually, yeah, no one cares as much about your film as you do. So get used to it. It's your baby. You decided to make this. You're the one bringing everyone together. So of course, you will always care the most. Now, of course, lead by example. You have to show that you care and show that it's worth caring, and then other people might follow. If they don't, then you can start thinking about the people that you are bringing onto your sets. If there are not serious people who are there to actually make something amazing, if they're just there to collect a paycheck, or, you know, maybe they're your buddies and they're not quite taking it too seriously and they're kind of chilling and hanging out, and, you know, we all run into that issue when we're young, and we just, you know, we have to have our friends because we can't hire people, you know, we're kids. But you're always going to be the one who cares the most. And that's fine, because you just have to put in the work. I mean, if you're not the one putting in the most effort, are you really the head of the project? Lead by example. You're not a boss that just gets to tell everyone what to do and then you sit back in your chair and drink your coffee. No. Be passionate, be enthusiastic, be a go-getter. Get out there and show people why it's worth it to make this film, why it's special, why you believe so much in it. And then they will become inspired and want to follow you. So while, sure, this sloth sin is very much applicable to other people, it can also be applied to you. If you start feeling like, God, do I have to do everything? If you're starting out, sometimes, yeah, a bit. But when you meet the people who fix issues for you and figure out things that you really hated having to figure out on your own in the past, that's how you know you're growing and you're meeting the right people.
Yeah, we don't have the budget for that.
Yep. I know every single person who's ever made a film watching this video right now has said it before, and I have as well, because yeah, unless you're a rich kid, you ain't got the money for a lot of stuff. And sure, at the end of the day, you are limited, which is why if you've watched my 5 tips for first-time filmmakers video, you would know that you should keep your idea simple, because then you will hopefully avoid saying this out loud, because guess what? You kept your idea simple and you were able to make it cheap. But most ideas unfortunately cost money, We love coming up with really awesome ideas, and sometimes, you know, maybe you start out simple and then you do what I do and then you keep adding more stuff, and then other people have ideas and they're like, oh, we could add this in there, and that's when you're like, oh, this person cares. Yes, I like this. But that's gonna cost money. At the end of the day, it's all about the sacrifice that you're willing to make. If it's your first film, obviously don't sacrifice your entire bank account. But if you've made a few films and you feel like you're stagnating a bit, but you're still passionate and you have a good idea, and it's a pretty simple idea, but maybe you're ready to grow a bit, and maybe you're meeting people who are helping you and saying, oh, we could actually do this. It would actually be way better than the cheap option. Maybe it's worth it to put money towards this. It's up to you to decide. Whatever budget you set, if you're an independent filmmaker, chances are you're gonna go over budget. If you figured out a way to not do that and still make fire films, contact me, because funding is always my issue, and I am very much guilty of this greed sin.
I have to get this done!
Now, of course, wrath is very much applicable just to the idea of letting the stress get to your head, and, you know, there's all these famous examples of directors blowing up on sets and yelling at people, and of course, don't do that.
I worked on this thing for 3 years, not to have some yell at me.
But I think a more relatable version of wrath is what I just said. I have to get this done. Sometimes you get that tunnel vision. You're so enthralled in the experience and raising your baby, trying to get this project as perfect as possible, and you're neglecting so many other things. You're not noticing other important tasks that you have to do, like eat, sleep, talk with your friends, have a life. Like, sometimes you can really just lock yourself away, and it can be bad, not only for you, but for the relationships you have with other people. No project is really worth that. It's not worth sacrificing yourself. You have to keep yourself balanced and listen to other people who care about you. So yes, while you do want to get it done, you don't have to get it done by a certain deadline necessarily. Now, if you're in film school, sure, maybe you actually do have a deadline set, and that's just where, all right, you're doing your best, pace yourself accordingly. If you have the time to sacrifice, then sure, go for it. But also, if you're reaching points where you physically cannot get this film done in time the way you wanted it to, then it's a learning lesson. It's a learning lesson of where was time misspent in the past, and maybe this idea wasn't as simple as I thought it once was, and I let it expand past my scope. And of course, I've done that too, so it's okay to admit if you've done it as well.
No, this has to be in there.
Lust, the sin, is really just the idea that you are so desired for this one thing or these things, like you just want them so badly. And with film, I mean, most of my ideas for any project that I've ever made, there's like a kernel, that little detail, that little scene, that little moment, that little visual something, and I'll hold on to it because I love it. It's like, oh, this helped me come up with my idea. But sometimes, as you're going throughout that process, you're starting to run into roadblocks and obstacles that are pointing towards maybe this thing that was there in the beginning might not make it. Maybe it's not meant to be for this project. Maybe other people are telling you new things that you could add in that you're like, no, I know what's best for my film. But at the end of the day, sometimes the thing that you're holding on to, maybe it's not meant to be, and you have to let it go. The other thing is, every time you make a project, a year or two later, you're gonna look at it and notice mistakes, which means you're making the mistakes back when you thought you weren't. So it's important to keep yourself in check and realize sometimes that that little seed that you had at the beginning, it helped, it did its job, you know, it inspired you, got you going. But then as you were making the project, it didn't fit. So it's time to let it go. I've been like crossing my hands a lot. I think it's because I folded up the sleeves, so I feel like a businessman, you know, I'm just pitching you guys sins.
Oh yeah, let's do that real quick.
You can't get enough, right? You keep wanting more and more and more. And I get it, when the creative process is flowing and brainstorming ideas are popping, suddenly it's just all just excited. Like, yes, let's add that in there. Oh, that's gonna be so good. Let's do that too. But you gotta pace yourself, especially if it's too late in the game. If you're already on the production and you're shooting and suddenly you're coming up with more ideas and you wanna add it in there, too late, sorry. You ran out of time. You had your pre-production time, and you have to settle for what you planned, because otherwise it's gonna spiral everything out of control. It sucks because it's like, why didn't that idea happen before? You know, I could have added that in there. And oh well, you know, just keep that idea for next time. There will be other projects down the road. You can't let your idea spiral out of control and add too much, because then you lose focus of what was actually important, the simple idea from the beginning. And you just have to accept that, all right, this is what I have right now. Now, if, let's say, it's a small thing, you know, a very quick thing, little detail that you realize actually really helps a lot and is worth it and won't take too much time, and realistically you don't have the time, well, then understand you're the one making the sacrifice. You can't make someone else sacrifice their time or whatever to do the new thing that you just came up with. If it's your thing and everyone else kind of saying like, I don't know, and you feel like you still have to do it, well, you're the one making the sacrifice then. But again, if you're making sacrifice like that too much, you're gonna reach the burnout stage and you're gonna be yelling at people saying, no, I have to get this, and then you're in the wrath sin. So all these sins, they all circle. They all lead into the others. It's just a sinful, you understand what I was about to say, but YouTube, Susan. Don't censor me, Susan, please. Not yet.
They just have a bigger budget.
This is probably my biggest sin, honestly. This has given me so much toxic feelings, just negativity. And that's what it is at the end of the day, is just you being a negative Nancy. There will always be another project that has a bigger budget than you. And, you know, everyday viewers, audiences, they don't understand that sometimes you can get away with a lot with such a small budget. And other times, the big budget doesn't mean it was a good project. And you as a filmmaker, you're able to kind of pick up on that a little bit more because you know the details. And, oh well. At the end of the day, it's just gonna happen. There is always gonna be a film more popular than yours, that had a bigger budget than yours, that had better resources than yours, and blah, 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 blah. Instead of being envious of other people's success, I look at two different things. I look at what can I learn from those other people, turn that envy into inspiration. Okay, well, with a bigger budget, I actually could be able to do this, or actually, that's not that difficult. I should do that for next time. I don't need that big of a budget to pull that off. And then the second thing that I do is collaborate. Just because another person has more resources than you doesn't mean that they're your enemy or they're your rival or whatever. Like, make friends, collaborate with people. That's literally what I've been telling myself for the past year, is like, stop, learn from other people, collaborate, network. That's how you grow as a filmmaker, as an artist, everything. You know, when you stay in your little box and you're allowing all these sins to pile up, all these toxic traits, you're not gonna grow. You have to let go of the negativity, let go. Quit committing sins. Do the opposite. Is it a blessing? I don't know. This is all just a silly little metaphor. But there you go. Those are the 7 deadly sins of independent filmmaking. Comment below any times you have committed one of these sins on a project that you've done. Doesn't have to be film, of course. I encourage all artists, all creative types to comment below, share your thoughts. Also, shout out to all of the patrons supporting me, supporting The Noise Next Door. It's going to be coming out relatively soon, and it's thanks to people like them that I was able to afford some of the stuff that I wanted to accomplish on this film. And of course, if you would like to join the Patreon as well and get access to exclusive content and early releases, please consider checking out the Patreon as well. I would really appreciate it. And I have a special thing as well that I would love for you guys to visit. I've been doing something secret, something exciting with some other people, and I need your help. So please click the link in the description. It'll take you to a quick survey, just a couple questions. They are film related, but of course, if you haven't made a film, or you're not a filmmaker, but maybe you're still interested in film, please check out the survey. It'll take you like 2 minutes to fill out, super easy, and it would really help because we're working on something really exciting and we need to hear from you guys. And that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and let's see if I can escape from this hellhole. And we made it. Clarity.